And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Parsons versus Arthur. Step forward, please.
24-year-old musician Robert Parsons is suing 22-year-old student Andrew Arthur for libel and defamation of character. Robert says Andrew wrote a newspaper article claiming he was a marijuana smoker.
Mr. Parsons, according to what I read, sir, the defendant approached you about writing an article about you for a class that he was taking. Is this a college class?
This is, yes.
You are a street musician?
Part of my job, yes.
Well, I assume that that's the part he was interested in.
Yes.
And you agreed to allow him to write the article.
Mm-hmm.
Then, according to you, the article was published in a school magazine or a school newspaper. And within that article was a statement by the defendant that you used marijuana on a regular basis.
Yes.
You say that that's caused you all kinds of problems. You're involved in a custody dispute about your children with your former wife or girlfriend, and you say that this has created all kinds of problems for you. And aside from that, it's not true, because you went and took a drug test, and I assume you have the results of the drug test for me.
Yes, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 24-year-old musician Robert Parsons is suing 22-year-old student Andrew Arthur for libel and defamation of character. Robert says Andrew wrote a newspaper article claiming he was a marijuana smoker.
Okay. Had you met the defendant prior to his approaching you about writing this article?
No, that was the first time I met him. I was playing on the street in Morgantown, West Virginia, and he approached me and said that he would like to write an article about me if it was okay with me. I told him that was fine. All I wanted was a copy of the article when he was done with it, and he agreed to that. And then I spent the next 4 or 5 months trying to get a copy of it.
Okay. Aside from seeing you play on the street, did he go anywhere else with you?
He came to my home.
How many times?
I would say 5.
Who else lives with you?
Robin?
This is Robin.
Yes.
Anybody else?
No.
You have a former wife?
Former girlfriend.
How many children do you have with this girlfriend?
3.
How old are they?
5, 4, and 2.
Didn't feel like making a commitment to marriage?
No.
You don't believe in marriage?
No, it's not that I don't believe in it. It just wasn't the right person.
I understand that, but I don't understand 5, 4, and 2.
I was just young and made mistakes.
But just my own information, because I always find this sort of interesting. You're not prepared to make the commitment because he wasn't the right person for you, but was the right person to have 3 children with.
Well, I'd asked her to marry me on a couple of occasions, and she denied it.
She said no?
Yes. But she's married now. She got married a month after we broke up.
You have a copy of the article?
I have a copy of the article as it appeared in the newspaper.
That's what I'd like to see.
Sure.
Now, when did Mr. Arthur tell you that it was going to be published?
He never did tell me.
Okay. So your complaint is about this one paragraph.
Mostly, yes.
Robbie smokes some pot. He puffs carefully from a green and orange tinted bowl. This is his usual routine before I sit.
Yes.
And what you're saying to me is that's not true.
Absolutely not.
Mr. Arthur?
It's very true. Mr. Parsons has made statements on the record, and I've recorded them as part of an immersion story in journalism. I spent a lot of time with Mr. Parsons.
Shh. I'm asking you about the pot smoking, sir. Don't give me a whole tirade.
Okay.
You say that you actually observed him smoking marijuana?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
I observed it once.
How do you know it's his usual routine?
He mentioned it.
What did he say?
He said this is what he does before a city. He has some pot, strums on a guitar, warms up a little bit.
Okay. Mr. Parsons, what kind of custody dispute are you involved with your former girlfriend?
Basically, I'm supposed to see the kids every weekend. When she saw this article, she wrote me a letter and told me I couldn't see him until I got this matter cleared up. So I went and I took my drug test 2 days after the article came out. I have a copy of that here if you'd like to see it.
I'd like to take a look at it.
And I also have the letter she sent me. And it took me 3 weeks before I could get a hold of her before I could show her that I have the drug results, because she wasn't answering her phone.
You took a urine test?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The issue was a very simple one. You agreed to have him write an article about you.
Mm-hmm.
He says he reported what he saw and heard, and you say it's not true.
Absolutely.
So there's a very simple way of establishing that, and that is with the hair follicle test.
Mm-hmm.
Have you taken a hair follicle test?
No.
As you probably know, marijuana will stay within your bloodstream for between 24 and 48 hours on a urine test. Was that explained to you?
No.
Otherwise, it just dissipates out of the body. That's why in courts we don't usually use these drug tests unless we suspect someone is high at the moment that they're before us. What they came up with about 8 years ago is a hair follicle test, because when you smoke marijuana, it stays in the hair follicles. It stays in the hair for about 6 or 8 months. And not only does it stay in the hair, but the laboratory can tell how long ago it was used, depending upon where they find the traces of the drug. Now, do you understand?
Yes.
So, are you prepared to take that test?
Sure.
He is suing you for $5,000. And clearly, in my judgment, if a hair follicle test establishes that he did not use marijuana, certainly your article would be a lie. Do you understand?
I understand that.
And he would be entitled to a judgment, in my opinion, for the $5,000. And you would agree with that?
I would.
And you are prepared to stick by your statement that you not only observed him smoking marijuana, but he told you that he did it as a regular routine?
Yes.
Okay. Do you smoke marijuana? I is not an answer,
no.
Mr. Arthur.
I have, yes.
So you were not appalled by his statement?
I was not.
You were not
by
appalled by what you saw, that he was
No.
smoking some marijuana?
No.
So it wasn't nutsy to you that somebody was doing that,
No,
right?
not
Because
that big
you
of a
did it
deal.
yourself, right?
I've done it, yes.
Okay. Got it, Mr. Parsons?
Absolutely.
So I will have my clerk arranged for the test. I expect both of you back here after the test results are forwarded to the court. Clear?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Case is adjourned.
Your Honor, this is case number 170 on the calendar in the matter of Sowers versus Manhart. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Miss Sowers, for how long have you known the defendant?
Approximately 5 years.
In what way do you know him?
I had an affair with him at one time 5 years ago.
And recently, according to what I read, you moved in with him.
At that time, I had left my husband. I lived in my truck for 1 week. I had nowhere else to go, and I asked him if I could rent a room. He agreed to that with a verbal rental agreement, that I pay the electric bill and that was it. Everything else would be taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not right.
I'll get to you in a minute. When did you move in?
I moved in approximately August 12th, 2002.
And how long did you stay?
I stayed until October 19th. At that time, I told him I was moving out, that the atmosphere at his house, I had to find myself. I was very confused at that time. Leaving my husband, being there, the alcohol that was involved was a little too much.
Whose, his or yours?
It was both at the time, and I
Okay.
wanted to get away from that.
Okay. According to your complaint, you moved out and he did not let you get your stuff.
No.
The defendant says that he got tired of storing your property, kept it for a while. Put your hands down, sir. Got tired of storing it and ultimately got rid of it. How large an apartment or a house do you have?
I have a 3-bedroom house.
Was she renting a room?
There was no verbal agreement as far as one electric bill versus this, that, and the other. It was...
Well, what was the agreement? Was there
The
any...
agreement was just she was going to help pay this, that, and the other. There was really nothing discussed on
So
it.
there
She
was
said
nothing-
She didn't even have a job when she first moved
So
in.
there was no formal agreement with regard to rent?
No.
Did she ever come back after the 19th or the 20th to get back some of her clothing?
Yes, roughly about 3 months later, a little after 3 months.
But not before that?
No, I begged, pleaded, groveled, did everything that I offered to get a trailer to get your stuff out of there.
I never did.
Just a second,
You
don't
turned down
speak to
Harry
each other.
numerous
Look,
times.
listen to me. Mr. Manhart, look at me. If you want to talk to her, you do that outside. You want to be in court, you talk to me. She left on October 19th.
Yes.
Where did you go?
I rented...
Look at me.
I rented a room in a beach condo
With somebody else or alone?
with someone else.
With whom?
It was with Henry.
And how long did you live with Henry?
Still am today, still sharing rent.
When you left on October 19th, did you take your clothes?
I took one bag, and I told him that I was making arrangements to get my stuff, to let me know what was, a good time for him to move the stuff. And he said that he was busy this weekend, and next weekend he wasn't going to be in town, and, it was on and
Well,
on.
we're talking about October. What about November? How many times did you contact him in November?
November, approximately 3 times.
And you told
phone
him-
calls and stopping by.
And you told him you wanted to get your things?
Yes.
And he said you can't get your things.
He never had a convenient time.
Well, when you stopped by, was he at home?
Yes, he was.
And he said you can't come in and get your things?
He would step outside the front door and say, "Can I help you?" and go like this and stand there and smile at me.
Now, in November, when you couldn't get all of your property, when for the first time did you go to small claims court to sue him for your property in November?
I went to small claims court in May.
I want you to answer my question.
Okay.
When in November did you go to small claims court?
I didn't at that time. I did not have money.
When in December did you go to small claims court?
I didn't. It's more than a small filing
January,
fee.
February, March, April, October, November, December, January, February, March, April.
During that time, Your Honor, I had my mother pass away the end of October. That was an airline ticket I had to buy at the last minute. It was a trip. It was unexpected. I talked to him from Ohio. He gave me his condolences. And then he said that I owed him storage money.
That's not true.
Doesn't make any difference to me. What I want to know is, what took you from October of 2002 till May of 2003 to decide you needed this property? Property that you evidently got along without.
No, it
October,
closed
November,
my
December,
business.
January, February, March, April,
You
May,
never
for
had
8
a
months.
business.
I did have a
You should
business, Your
screw
Honor.
people over.
Shh. What do you mean you had a business?
He has possession of an embroidery machine that cost me $15,000.
Then, madam, what I would have done is lickety-split in November. If he had a piece of property that you had that was worth $15,000, I would absolutely have forfeited a lot of other stuff and even asked old Henry, with whom you are now living, do me a favor, I need $30 to go and file a small claims court case.
I finally got enough money together.
How much did it cost you?
It cost me $198.50. And during that time, I've been paying on a machine that I didn't have possession of.
You know, I'm unmoved. You do have a sewing machine that belongs to that you
Yes,
say...
it is damaged.
And how did it get damaged?
My ceiling caved in. I have an addition that's off the back of my house. The roof started leaking. I have a 4x8 sheet of drywall. It fell. Matter of fact, it tore up my bed.
But you have it.
Yes.
Okay, and you have no problem returning
I have
it to
no
her.
problem whatsoever.
Okay. Do you have any other of her property?
No, ma'am.
What did you do with all the rest of her property?
I put it to the curb. After 3 months, I got tired of it. I
What?
got tired of tripping around it going into my bedroom. I got tired of tripping on it going to the kitchen. I got tired of just even looking at it.
Now,
and
Mr.
dealing with it.
Manhart, you say that you asked her to come and get her stuff. When
Yes,
did you
numerous
ask her to
times.
come and get her stuff?
Numerous times. I'd ask, will you come and get it on Friday? No. Friday go to Sunday. Sunday go to Wednesday. And
Look at me.
We did this for ages. I even contacted
Who is this
her husband.
person?
That's my father.
Step up. Were you ever involved, Mr. Manhart, in any...
Yes, ma'am. I was over at his house a couple of times when he talked with her, and I offered to unload it right there and take it to wherever she wanted. She didn't have time to do it. This happened twice.
Your Honor, I even contacted her husband and begged and pleaded, and I told him I'd take everything and put it right back to the same driveway it came from. That man said, I do not want to have anything to do with her. He already filed a restraining order on her,
Okay.
and all like
Listen
that.
to
He
me.
wouldn't even accept the property
Listen.
back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's too lazy to get up off the couch with his beer to carry anything out.
You were
I'm
always
sorry.
drunk on vodka.
I haven't drank in 7 months. I'm sorry.
And later today,
He was like really drunk and really upset, so me and Andrew locked ourselves in my bedroom, and he was banging on the door so hard it broke the door, and then like he just like passed out after that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tawny Sauer says ex-roommate Gary Manhart Jr. won't return her belongings. Gary says she's been dragging this out for months.
Miss Sowers has a difficult case because she waited 8 months to do what she could have done 8 months ago. I don't believe that she made efforts to get her property until 8 months later.
I thought it
and
would be
I'm
worth-
speaking, and I do believe that you told her, get your stuff out of here. And she didn't. You do have her sewing machine or whatever embroidery
embroidery
machine it is.
machine, yes.
If you have it, you have to return it. If she can have it fixed,
That's
she can have
fine.
it fixed. It's to be returned to her within 5 days.
Sure.
She will make arrangements to come and pick it up. Or maybe your father can...
I'm willing to take it to wherever she wants.
Fine. Where do you want it?
I want it at my house, but I also have something to add to that.
What?
Okay, during that time, the stress with him, he put me off so many times. I had the people to go and pick up the stuff
Miss
and the
Sowers,
truck.
Miss Sowers,
you didn't.
you're getting back your sewing machine. Period. End of
has
discussion.
sentimental items
what?
there.
He got rid of everything. He doesn't have everything. He said he put
He's
it all
too
around
lazy to
her.
get up off the couch with his beer.
Listen
to
to
carry
me.
anything out.
You were
I'm
always
sorry.
drunk on vodka.
Listen to me very carefully.
And I haven't drank in 7 months. I'm sorry.
Listen to me. You waited, madam, too long.
Starting over is very hard. He had
Miss Sowers,
everything.
the courts do not get involved with how hard it is to start over. I don't believe that he has a
clothing. I had to buy the clothing.
I don't believe that he has the responsibility, madam, of storing your property for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks. I'm telling you, he doesn't have that responsibility. You had the ability, when you left his house, to take clothes, to take a carton. He wasn't there when you left, so you had the ability to take whatever you wanted to take, and if you left the rest of the stuff and made no efforts through the courts to get it, I find you abandoned it. It's as simple as that. 5 days from today, you get your sewing machine back. All other parts of your claim are dismissed. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, excuse you may step out.
He wanted a mother, someone to take care of him, someone to pay the bills.
There's a lot of untruths, so it doesn't really matter.
I don't drink anymore. My eyes are wide open, and I will be back.
I'm glad I don't ever have to see her again in my life.
I'm going forward.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Marks versus Copeland, step forward.
18-year-old student Zana Marks is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old pizza deliverer Michael Copeland, for an unpaid loan, the return of her PlayStation, and stabbing her furniture. Michael says he was too drunk to remember.
Miss Marks, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. Your complaint is threefold. First, you say that he took some property when he moved out, and you want half the value of that property because the property belonged to both of you. Second, you claim that he later came back and in a drunken rage at some point caused all kinds of damage to your home and to your property. And third, that he owes you for a loan that you made to him approximately a year ago in the amount of $750. Mr. Copeland says that the only property he took when he moved out was property that belonged to him, that he was too drunk to remember doing any damage to your apartment the day he came back, but that it is so out of character for him to have done any damage that he's sure he didn't do it. Correct?
Yes.
And third, that the $750 that you claim was a loan was actually a gift because he bought a stereo with that, and there was never any discussion of the repayment of that money. So far, is that right?
Yeah.
Did I get it right?
Yes.
Good. Tell me when you moved in together, Miss Marks, and when Mr. Copeland left.
We moved in 3 years ago together. Probably, actually two and a half.
2, 3. Give me a month and a year, please.
December of 01.
And when did Mr. Copeland move out?
May of 03.
Were you working from December of 2001 until May of 2003?
No.
And what about Mr. Copeland?
Yeah, he worked at a liquor store and then pizza delivery.
How are you supporting yourself?
My mom supports me. I go to school, and I was in high school. I just turned 18, and now I go to Citrus.
So you were living with Mr. Copeland when you were a minor?
Yeah, he lived with me and my mom for 6 months, 7 months, and then my mom moved out, and it was just me and him, and then I got a roommate, which is Andrew, who's over there.
Did you have any sort of relationship with him?
Yeah, he was my boyfriend.
Let me try to put this together. You were living in this apartment with your mother. Mm-hmm. Mr. Copeland moved in. Mm-hmm. Why?
Because he got kicked out of his parents' house.
Was he your boyfriend at the time?
Yes.
So your mother took him in?
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
I'm 20.
So you were 18, you moved in with us, she was 16.
Yes.
And how old were you when your mother moved out?
18.
Where did she go?
She moved in with her boyfriend in Phillips Ranch.
Leaving you and Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
And who paid the rent in this place?
I paid half, and he paid the other half.
Is that right?
Yeah, I paid my half.
What was the rent?
The rent was originally $800, and then we got a roommate and moved to 9, so we all paid $300.
How large a place is this?
3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Now, you had an argument, it didn't work out, whatever, you were moving out.
Yeah.
And what items did you take with you when you left?
Took my clothes, my PlayStation, my games.
Now, what is it that you claim Miss Marks belongs to you?
The PlayStation took was half mine, and
How was it half yours?
because we went halves on it, like we bought it together.
Is that right?
No. It was my money because I was the only one that had a job at the time, and I paid for my money.
No, I had money because my grandma gives me money and my mom gives me money.
Did you pay for this in check?
And I paid for it in cash.
How am I supposed to tell who paid for it?
I don't know, but other than
I
that,
don't know
though,
either.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Zana Mark says ex-boyfriend Michael Copeland owes for a loan, the return of her belongings, and property damage.
Now let's get to the $750 that you claim was a loan. Tell me about it.
in about August, end of July, beginning of August.
Of what year?
'02. I lent him money because he wanted a system for his car, and he didn't have all the money by himself because he was working, I think, at the liquor store for his uncle. Then actually, no, this was when he was not working at all. It was a period when he did not have a job at all. So I lended him the rest of the money so he could get his system and his car. And my friend here, Tana, she saw me lend him the money. She knows that it was a loan, and I asked for it back. And we were going out, so it wasn't a big deal that he wasn't paying me back right away. And then once we broke up and we had a bad breakup, I'm like, pay me back my money.
She gave me the money.
How much money did she give you?
She gave me $750 to help me for my stereo system in my truck.
Why did somebody who was unemployed need a $750 stereo system?
I don't know.
Well, think of a reason.
I really wanted it.
You mean there was nothing else that you wanted that was more important than a stereo system in your car when you're unemployed? How about wanting a job?
I had a job coming in a couple weeks.
And you couldn't wait?
No, Your Honor.
Does that make you sound pretty stupid?
Yes.
So pay her back her money. Do you understand? She's going to school. She's getting money from her mother, who left her in your custody because you're 2 years older, to go live with her boyfriend. So her grandmother gives her money, her mother gives her money, and she's going, did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Perfect. So you got a lot of nerve taking the money from her anyway. If you want to be a fool with your own money, that's your problem. Don't be a fool with her money. Now, you want to tell me about this damaged property?
Okay, like a few days after we broke up, he came over, he was upset because there was some misconceptions that I cheated on him when we were going out, and this is the reason he broke up with me. And so he was mad about that, that's going to upset someone, of course. And so he came back over, and he was had been drinking a lot that night, and he was really upset, and he just he broke the table.
Which table?
He carved into it, the kitchen dining room table. And he was really drunk and really upset, so me and Andrew locked ourselves in my bedroom, and he came to break down the door, and so he was banging on the door so hard it broke the door. And so I opened the door, and then he just passed out after that.
Did you have the kitchen table fixed?
No, I did not. He got me a replacement table that was some $15 what did you call it, particle board? Yeah. Particle board table, and my other one was a pine table, which was really nice.
Did you get her a particle board table?
It was not a particle board table.
Yes, too.
Did you get her a replacement
yes,
table?
Yes, I got a replacement table.
Well, why would you get her a replacement table if you don't remember breaking her original table?
Because I remember carving into it, because I'd carved into it probably about 2 months before.
Carved into it with what?
With a knife.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
What did you carve into it?
Just dots.
What?
Just stuff. What
do you mean stuff?
I didn't really carve anything into it. I just cut it up and stuff.
You mean you're sitting there just whittling?
Yeah.
On a kitchen table? Shh. You don't look like you're an unintelligent person, but you sound like an unintelligent person. That's being deceptive. If you're going to be unintelligent, you should look unintelligent. Now, what about the door?
The door, when he was hitting on it,
I know it broke, so
yeah,
did you have it fixed?
No, I did not yet.
Do you have an estimate to fix it?
Yeah.
Let me see the estimate to fix the door. I'll take a look at all of her pictures, Bird.
Okay. Well, there's the picture of the broken door. And these two are the estimates of the door.
Okay, so you can have the door fixed for $150 you can take care of. This is an interior door?
Yeah.
All right. Are these the scratch marks you made on the top of the table with a knife?
I believe so.
I don't know what this Pasadena Furniture Company, $900 for a pine table?
Yeah, that's why I thought it was pretty ridiculous. My original estimate, I thought pine table $200-300 at the most.
That's all you're getting for it, $250 for a pine table. Let's see what we have. We have $750 for the must-have stereo system, $250 for the pine table, and $150 for the door. $1,150. You're going to have to deliver a lot of pizza, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,150. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Charlene Juergens says ex-boyfriend Colin Hager owes for a burglary, an assault, and a loan for bail.
All right, Ms. Juergens, you and the defendant used to have a romantic relationship, and according to your complaint, something happened a year ago that caused all kinds of problems. There was a freeway altercation between the two of you. You claim he assaulted you, then he was arrested. Then you decided that you would help him out by bailing him out. You obligated yourself to a bail bondsman. You claim he owes you money for that. You claim he owes you money for the assault. You claim he owes you money for going into your apartment at some time subsequent to this altercation and ruining your property. Mr. Hager has a whole different interpretation of what happened on the freeway about a year ago. He says that you actually stole money from him, that you're not obligated to the bail bondsman. He's obligated to the bail bondsman. He's going to have an opportunity to tell me, but you're no longer in love?
No.
Absolutely not.
You don't see each other anymore?
No way.
No.
Perfect. So, tell me what happened a year ago, Ms. Juergens.
I was in a violent relationship, so I moved out of my county to a different county, and he followed me down there. He learned where I lived.
Look at me. Don't look down there.
And he showed up and broke into my bathroom window, and he...
Were you home during all this time?
No, I was not home.
Just a second. You have any proof that he burglarized your house?
No. I have a police report of the robbery.
That you reported?
Yes, I did report it.
I can make a report. I can make a report that he burglarized my house.
He admitted he went through my bathroom window on the police report.
What date?
On November 25th of 2004, he admitted on his police report to the police in San Diego that he went through my bathroom window.
Okay, let me see that.
Didn't know.
Because November 25th, 2004 is the same day as this freeway altercation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see the report where he admits that.
I never even spoke to the police.
Shh. Just a second. Would you have her point out where he says window? Just circle it. Circle where he admits to the police that he went into your bathroom window.
He returned and climbed through my bathroom window.
That's you telling the police. You said he admitted to the police that he went through my bathroom window. I said, show me in the report.
Perhaps he admitted it to me.
Oh, please. All right. Would you get to the freeway, please? What happened on the freeway?
Well, I left my home because I didn't want any problems at my home. So I got in my car and I was traveling to my friend's house, and his car chased me, and I thought I should go right to the police department. And he followed me, and then he ran me off the road in front of an office, and the lady came out and dialed 911.
Keep going.
I couldn't call 911 because he was reaching in my window to steal my cell phone.
Keep going.
He hit my rent-a-car, and then he sped off.
Keep going.
So basically, that's hit and run. The police arrived, took my statement, and they went to track him for the robbery and the damages to the car.
Keep going.
They found him and they arrested him. He said he had a drink and a lost phone, and he was crying and upset.
Let's get to the bail, Ms. Juergens, please.
He was arrested in San Diego. He knew my home phone number, so he called collect. And he promised to pay for those collect
Just a second.
calls.
He called collect, and the operator said, I have Mr. Hager on the phone, and you said, I'll accept the charges.
Not the first time.
I don't care if it's the first time or the 100th time. At some
Eventually,
point,
I took the call.
And what happened when you took the call?
He was upset and crying and promising me that he would quit using drugs and he would go to AA and never drink again. Please help me get out. My family won't help me. My sister won't bail me out. Only you can help me out.
So?
I hung up on him and I called my lawyer.
About what?
I said my ex-boyfriend was arrested and he's asking me to bail him out. And my attorney said, well, that's a great idea because then you can bring him to us and we can get a retainer. So bail him out, sign for his release.
You think I believe that? You think I believe what you just told me? You think Bird believes what you just told me? That you're calling your lawyer and you said, my ex-boyfriend who beat me up, who I moved from one county to another county to get away from, just called me up to bail him out of jail because after he burglarized my house, assaulted me, chased me down the freeway, damaged my rental car, tried to steal my cell phone. After all of that, wants me to bail him out. And your lawyer said to you, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't you do that and we can get a retainer from him and then we'll all be one happy family. So you went and bailed him out and put down with the bail bondsman how much?
I didn't put any monies down. I just signed for his release as my attorney told me to do so.
So they let him out because you promised to pay?
He promised.
So what are you suing him for bail for?
I have a promissory note that he promised to pay and he's never paid.
Well, what does that have to do with you? If you just said you're not obligated to pay the bail, what is the promise? You're suing on behalf of the bail bondsman?
The bail bondsman is suing me for the amount of $2,500 for
Show me that the bail bondsman is suing you. They're not suing you. They said if this matter is not resolved, they're going to send this to a collection agency. Tell them to sue you. All right. Tell me this story about what happened, Miss Juergens, when you signed him out and took him to your lawyer. Tell me what happened.
My lawyers had him sign a retainer and they made $8,000 off of him.
Yes.
Then they called him and said, why haven't you paid that bail bond? It's going to collections. Pay it. And he promised.
Just a minute, why would you take him to your lawyer? This man who you fled from one county to another to get away from, who just burglarized your house, assaulted you in your home, battered your car, almost killed you on a freeway, why would you take him to your lawyer?
To get him out of my county of San Diego and put him back in Orange County and let my lawyers handle it.
How many lawyers are there in Orange County?
About 1 million.
Right. And according to you, we paid your lawyer $8,000. I guarantee you, another half dozen of the 1 million lawyers in Orange County would have taken the case for $8,000. So why you chose to take him to your lawyer? The whole story is so bizarre. And if the story is so bizarre, and if it doesn't make sense, it didn't happen that way. All right, Mr. Hager, I've listened to the fairy tale on this side. You want to tell me your side of this fairy tale?
What really happened was she took off with my phone after coming to my hotel room.
Where was your hotel?
San Diego, Mission Bay.
What were you doing?
And they're like getting ready to go to SeaWorld.
You were getting ready to go to SeaWorld?
Yeah.
Who were you going to SeaWorld with?
I was going to go to SeaWorld with my daughter.
Was your daughter with you?
No, she wasn't at the time.
Where does she live?
She lives down in Costa Mesa.
Listen, Mr. Hager,
Yeah.
you're always going to get tripped up on a little detail.
Yeah.
Because they make up the story as they're going. Do you understand?
Oh, I'm not making it up.
Oh! What were you doing in a hotel room, and what was she doing in your hotel room while you're getting ready to take your daughter to see the sea lions?
My daughter wasn't with me at the time. She was in Oceanside visiting her cousins. Charlene came down there because she had to see me.
Just a second. How did she know you were there, sir?
She called me.
On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay. And you told her, I'm here. Did you tell her before or after you arrived?
After I arrived, I believe.
And she came to your hotel?
Yeah.
What's the name of the hotel?
I think it was the Hilton.
Paid by credit card or cash?
Credit card, I believe.
And you registered there in your own name?
Yes, yes.
Why do you hesitate?
Well, I have trouble with remembering details. Yes.
Well, I mean, it would be a simple thing. Somebody said, did you register there in your own name? I would say, of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, Do you know what I'm saying, Mr.
Yeah,
Hager?
I know what you're saying, yeah.
It's the little details that are going to trip you up if I don't get an accurate story from you.
Okay.
Or as close to accurate in this fantasy that I want to get.
All right.
So she came to your hotel?
Yes.
For what purpose?
To talk.
About what?
About a relationship, and also to try and talk me into like backing off on some of the accusations and charges I had against her.
For what?
Battery, robbery, all kinds of stuff.
Were there criminal charges pending against her at the time?
Yes.
Is that true, Ms. Juergens?
1, assault. Robbery is false.
So at the time you went to his hotel, there was a current criminal action pending against you?
Yes.
Well, at least I got you in his hotel. That's different from the bathroom in your house. Now, According to you, she left your hotel with your cell phone, is that right?
That's correct.
And that's why you followed her on the freeway.
Yes.
Did you pay the bail bondsman, sir?
Yes, I paid him everything up to about $2,500.
Did you pay her lawyer any money?
Yeah, and quite a lot of money. In fact, I paid her bill for the lawyer too.
You did?
Oh yeah, I have the receipt right here.
How much did you pay her lawyer?
$1,250 on one count, and then I paid $2,500 on another count.
What made you so magnanimous?
Well, you know, she kept telling me that we could work things out, and she loved me and stuff like that.
Were those criminal charges subsequently dropped, Miss Juergens?
No, they weren't.
Did that case go to trial?
It did not. I changed my not guilty plea.
To a guilty plea?
Yeah, after 11 months.
What was your sentence?
Time served.
How long had you been incarcerated?
48 days.
What was the nature of the assault that you pled guilty to?
He alleged that I scratched him and assaulted him and battered him.
Is that right, Mr. Hager?
Yeah, I have the report with the 5 stitches that I had, if you'd like to see that.
I would. So I am correct in the time sequence in this case.
Right.
Your allegations, Ms. Juergens, that he assaulted you after he crawled through the bathroom window, and that's when you took off down the freeway. That police report was made after you were under indictment for assault. Is that right?
I was fighting my alleged charge.
Correct. Well, you've been the alleged charge. It's no longer an alleged charge. It's a conviction.
Now it is.
How come you didn't tell me you were in his hotel room until I got the information a different way?
You didn't ask, and he asked me to go. He invited me.
This is the same man, Miss Juergens, who you fled from one county to another to escape. You went to his hotel room alone? Goodbye, Miss Juergens. I'm totally disinterested in your lawsuit. You have no case. That's all. Goodbye.
Kathleen Bowers is suing her former friend, Lana Batman, for damaging her Dodge Durango when she backed into a pole.
Miss Batman, you will forgive him, won't you?
Sure.
Good. Miss Bowers, this used to be your friend. She borrowed your car. She had an accident. You wanted to pay for the damage to your car. Miss Batman does acknowledge that she had an accident with the car. She said you should have used your insurance, and if you didn't have good enough insurance, that's your problem. That's pretty much your defense.
Yep.
Right?
Right, correct.
How'd you damage her car?
I pulled into a carport trying to move, and when I pulled out, I was trying to look around the corner, and it hit the carport pole.
So the accident was your fault?
Yeah.
So how does that translate into use your insurance, and if you don't have insurance, you pay for it?
Well, if you don't have the proper insurance, why are you loaning your car out?
Just admit she had proper insurance. You have liability?
Yes, actually, my mother had bought me the car, so my mother had full coverage insurance on the car. And at the time we were going to file the claim, Lana would not call her agency, because first we were going to try and go through hers. And so she came over and we discussed it, and she told me that since she had borrowed the car, she wanted me to pay half because I had lent it to her. We were going to do it out of pocket, so the insurance, because it was going to go onto her insurance, my mother's insurance, and yeah. So we were going to try to do it outside of there.
You were going to try to do it without using your insurance?
Yes.
Because certainly if you used your mother's insurance rates were at risk, and if you used hers, her insurance rates were potentially at risk.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know because Lana wouldn't get a hold of her insurance for me.
Whatever. You have an estimate?
I do.
Right. I called my insurance.
And?
And they said the insurance follows the car, not the person.
Okay.
That was
Miss
a week after I had
Just
it
a second.
fixed.
Miss Batman, let me try to explain it to you, because I know that you really probably think you're right.
I am right.
Miss Batman, I want you to listen to me.
She shouldn't have loaned her car out.
I want you to listen to me carefully.
I didn't ask to borrow the car.
Listen to me. I want you to listen to me
She
carefully.
felt guilty.
Try listening. Okay, listen.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Can I say something?
First, you have to listen. I understand. Hey, listen. We live in a world of responsibility.
Right. And I'm very
Just listen. Try not to plug up. Try to open up and listen. If you didn't want to accept the responsibility of using her car with caution, then you should not have taken her car. Now, based upon what you told me, you drove the car negligently, not on purpose, but you weren't looking, because certainly if you weren't looking in the right place or if you misjudged space, that's your fault. It's not fair for you to say, well, it's true that I caused the damage to her car, and I want her to bear the responsibility of fixing the car with her insurance, despite the fact that we all know that once you put in a claim for insurance, your premiums go up for sometimes up to 5 years. And that, Miss Batman, is just wrong. It's not thinking. I know that you have something you want to say, but I want you to try to absorb what I've said to you as an adult. Now, I will hear you.
Okay. First, I didn't borrow the car. She was supposed to help me move.
Shh, no, listen to me.
No, she was supposed to help me move, and she was going to drive the car. I didn't want to drive her car. She was sick, and she couldn't help me, as usual, and so she said, well, here, why don't you borrow my car? Because, you know, I feel really guilty. So I said, no, I'll take my dad's truck. And she said, no, 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 take my car, just take my car.
What does that have to do with what I just said to you?
Well,
how old are you?
30.
Listen to me.
But
If you're
I'm
30,
not finished.
if you're 30, but I'm going to stop you right. If you're 30, and if you say, no, I'll take my dad's truck, the reason you didn't want to take her car is because you didn't want to be responsible for it.
I didn't want to
Listen to
drive
me. You didn't want to be responsible for it.
Right, but she should have been responsible in saying, this is insured under my name, it's under my mother's insurance, you won't be covered.
Miss Batman, if you're 30 years old and somebody says, take my car, and you say, no, I don't want to take your truck, you're forcing me to take your truck, you're holding a gun to my head, I'm going to take your truck, but I'm not going to be responsible for it. If you take her car, you are responsible for acting in a way that doesn't cause damage to the car. And if you cause damage to it, that's your responsibility. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,260.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Psychiatrist Dr. Howard Richmond says publishing consultant Susan Gilbert scammed him on a book deal.
According to your complaint, Dr. Richmond, you retained Miss Gilbert's services because you were interested in publishing a book.
That is correct.
And she had, well, you had heard she had had some expertise in assisting people to get their works published. You gave her approximately $2,500, and it is your claim that she really defrauded you because she was not working solely in your best interest. You want not only your money back, but you want twice that amount of money as punitive damages. So I have a few questions before we get into this. Had you written a book?
Yes, I did.
And the subject?
It was called The Healing Field, a story about myself, a psychiatrist, and one of my patients who was dying from anorexia. Only when I got out of the box of my traditional training did my patient start to heal.
How long did it take you to do the book?
About 5 years.
And what brought you to Miss Gilbert?
I was at a publishing event in 2003, and the defendant was one of many experts that presented that day, and she said that she could help me get my book published.
How much was Miss Gilbert's fee?
Her fee was $150 for an hour of coaching over the phone.
And what kind of things did she coach you about?
Well, she talked about having a branding, who I was going to tell me about this fantastic opportunity to be a co-author in a book along with big names such as Dr. Phil, Deepak Chopra, and Wayne Dyer. And I would need to pay $5,000 to, under a tight deadline, write a chapter in the book. So then in October of 2004, I wrote a check for $5,000, sent it to the publisher, Linda, and then 2 weeks later...
The publisher is not Linda. What's the name of the publisher of this book?
Her name is Linda, and her corporate
company,
logo is Mentors Publishing House.
Never heard of them.
Neither had I.
So what'd you just write him a check for $5,000 for, Dr. Richmond?
Well, at the time...
Doctors are notoriously bad businessmen, sir.
It was a good sale to be associated with these big-name authors.
Yeah, but you got to do your own due diligence, Dr. Richmond. You know, if somebody said, I'm doing an ensemble work with Dr. Phil and some other notable people, you would think that this ensemble work would be published by somebody that you would heard of.
Well, there was 2 other books, so they had a track record of putting out 2 books
2 books?
previously. Correct.
In how many years?
I'm not sure exactly.
So in their whole history as a publishing house, all you knew of was 2 books they had published?
Correct. But there were celebrities in the first 2 editions.
Like who?
Zig Ziglar.
I never heard of Zig Ziglar.
Donald Trump is in the 3rd edition. So it sounded really good.
What 3rd edition?
Well, this book that I was enticed to be a part of.
Has it been published?
It just came out in the last couple of weeks.
Is that right?
Yes. In fact, Judge Judy, would you like a copy of it? I've autographed
I'd just like
one
to
for
look
you.
at it. I don't want a copy. I have enough to read. By the way, in case you want a picture of Zig Ziglar, this is what he looks like.
That's him.
All right, so you sent $5,000 into this publisher. Go ahead, what happened?
I wrote the chapter. Then in late January, early February 2005, there were some changes in the publication and a delay in when the book was coming out. I started to get uncomfortable with the changes that were happening.
Like what changes?
Instead of 40 authors, there was going to be 70 authors. Chuck Norris was going to be on the cover of the book. He's not in alignment with the work that I do. And then on February 7th, I discovered that the defendant, my coach, was not only getting compensation from me, but also from Linda, the publisher. In exchange for bringing people in, she would get to write the foreword and have her picture on the cover of the book. And that was in an email that I only discovered February 7th. She never disclosed this to me. I was shocked. My confidence in her began to evaporate.
Did you have to pay $5,000 to get into this book?
I did not.
And the reason you didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into this book is because you brought other clients into the book?
Right, the
Is
relationship.
that, just a
yes.
second.
Yes.
My questions, your answers. Did you at any time tell Dr. Richmond that you were involved as a co-author in this project, but that you were being compensated in part for bringing in other prospective authors?
Yes.
When did you tell him that?
At the inception of the discussion of whether he would come in or not, because one of the questions that they had was whose picture would be on the front, and at that time the publisher had offered that my picture would be in that larger space there on the cover.
That doesn't answer my question. You can write a chapter, but if everybody who's writing a chapter pays $5,000 for your bringing in other authors, you were getting a free ride. My question is, did you tell that to Dr. Richmond?
I did not state it in those words.
Well, those are the words that you should have used, Ms. Gilbert.
If I could clarify one thing for Judge Judy, though, the $5,000 fee is not a fee. You made a commitment to purchase 1,000 copies.
There's no difference between buying 1,000 copies and paying $5,000 to get in, because it all goes to the publisher. They are at least assured of 1,000 copies, and if they get 70 authors to each contribute $5,000, that means that they have guaranteed themselves 70,000 copies of the book being sold, which guarantees them a spot on some list that says we've already sold 70,000 copies, and therefore you should read this book. That's sort of a no-brainer.
It's
right,
marketing.
Miss Gilbert?
Absolutely, it's
Okay.
marketing.
So that wasn't explained to him, that the $5,000 is that you can get 1,000 copies of this book. You don't have 1,000 friends. What you're going to do is you're going to take pieces of your library. You put 500 in one house and 500 in another house, and some in the kitchen and some in the living room. I've written books, I know. I got stacks of them all over my house. Some were sold, some did not. Listen to me. You had an obligation to tell him that you were also representing other people who were going to be contributing to this book, and in exchange for your cooperation in securing other people, which the publisher wanted, because I guarantee you, Dr. Phil didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into the book. Chuck Norris didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into the book. Nice-looking man, they don't know who he is. You got to pay the $5,000. It's marketing.
It's marketing, and that's the point. All of the coaching calls that
You
Howard
have
and I had
to tell
done-
him. Can I say this for a second, Bert? Don't get too involved with it. Let's see. We have people like Dan Kennedy, Cynthia Bull, Brian Tracy, Carol Ann Hamilton. How many people did you represent here, Miss Gilbert?
I represented 4 people.
And did each of those people pay $5,000?
Yes, they did.
Okay, because they were not celebrities.
Absolutely.
Did each of those other 4 people know about the other people?
I did not spell out everything as it's coming out in this courtroom, but Howard knew that I was inviting him in and I was inviting other people to participate, and I explained how it worked.
You should have explained the whole piece to him. You left out some very important things.
That doesn't take away the benefit that he would have received and all the
would have
things
been.
that we discussed.
He's not a child, Miss Gilbert.
You're right.
He's not a child. So what you're supposed to do is, if he is retaining you in what I consider an almost quasi-fiduciary relationship, you don't treat him like a child. You give him all the facts and then let him make a judgment. Now, it might have been a wrong judgment for him not to participate in this book. He might have gotten his name in print, so at least he was a published author. But your responsibility to your client, if he was your primary client, was to make sure that he had all the facts. Now, did you get your book published?
Not yet.
You got a possibility?
Of course.
Good. Now, I don't necessarily think Miss Gilbert is dishonest. I think that she didn't realize who her master was. Her master was the person who had hired her to help him publish his book. Quite honestly, Dr. Richmond, in all probability, had you not gotten your money back, because you got your $5,000 back.
No, I did not.
You did not?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Well, as a matter of fact, when I decided to withdraw from the project and ask the publisher for my money back, on February 25th, the publisher agreed to send me the check that day. I waited. No check. Then I discover my coach, my agent, told her directly not to give me my money back.
How do you know that?
I heard it verbally from the defendant, and also I have an email from the publisher that confirms the
Can I see it?
conversation.
What did you say to the publisher?
I don't know what was written there.
I'm not asking you what was written here. I know what was written here. I'm asking you what you said to the publisher that resulted in the publisher not sending him back his check.
I care very deeply, even though it doesn't appear that it's
Just
coming
1
out
second.
that way. I care about my coaching clients.
I asked you what you told the publisher.
That I wanted to speak with Howard before he withdrew because I felt he was making a really bad business decision, that everything that he and I had been working towards for months would be helpful in this book release. And so I wanted an opportunity to speak with him.
Well, did you speak to him?
I did, and he still withdrew.
Just a second. Did you then call back the publisher and say?
Multiple times.
And say, give him back his check?
Absolutely. Multiple times I have requested, and I thought that she would. But Dr. Richmond
just a
has
second.
taken him
But
to
this
court.
says, yes, I held off sending the check because of my conversation with Susan.
Which is what I said, that I wanted to speak with Howard.
So you never got your money back?
No, Your
He
Honor.
took them to court and won a judgment.
Did you get paid?
No.
When did you get your judgment?
June 6th, and I have a copy of that if you would like to see it.
I would.
It's June 1st.
You have any idea why you haven't gotten your money?
Lack of integrity.
Have you called them?
Yes.
And what have they said?
No response. Tried to get the money from the bank account. No money there. Cat and mouse game.
Her client has said, I want my money back. The people are ready to send you your check. You say, don't send him his check. I want to talk to him. That's not up to you.
If he's hired me as his coach, and I feel that he's making a mistake, I'd like to speak with him before that happens.
You had no business speaking to the publisher about him. You don't know who your master is in this situation. You took money from him. You are his advocate.
As is, I was advocating for him that this was a good project.
He's not a baby. It's up to him to make a judgment as to whether or not he believes that he wants to go forward with this project. You know, Chuck Norris is a very nice man. He says, I don't want to be in a book with Chuck Norris on the cover. I don't know why. I've met Chuck Norris, got a lovely man, he's got a lovely wife. Their philosophies may be inconsistent. Who knows? That's not up to you. That's up to him. How much did he pay you?
How much did he pay me?
Yeah.
A total of $2,500 over 6 months for 17 sessions. And when I begin to work with someone, Judge
So
Judy,
far, he's out $5,000 plus another $2,500, and he doesn't have a book. And the $5,000 of that $7,500, put it down. $5,000, Miss Gilbert, out of the $7,500 is because of you. Sounds to me like better practice would be not to come in front of 10 million people and tell your story, but to give him back his $2,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Dawn Chuck is suing her son, 21-year-old Scott King, for a loan to purchase a 1999 Chevy Cavalier. Scott claims the car was a gift.
Miss Chunt, this young man is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint alleges that he owes you a balance of a car loan.
Correct.
And your son says the car was a gift to him?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Did I ask you a question?
No, I'm sorry.
And while he helped you financially for a while, Had nothing to do with this being a loan. It was always a gift, and when he had his expenses got to a point where he could no longer help you out, he just stopped. Is that...
That's
now
correct.
I'm looking at you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Do you want me to yell at him?
Please.
Who is this person?
This is my son's ex-girlfriend, Jessica.
And who is this?
This is my current girlfriend, Kelly.
Is she here for any particular reason?
More or less. She was witness to an instance over the summer where I actually offered a reconciliation to my mother at a festival downtown. And basically my mother told me she was in the process of filing bankruptcy and that my help was too late, and basically shrugged me off and walked away. So at that point I felt like I was no longer obligated to even try to reconcile or help out the situation at all.
Let me understand this. I'm going to put what you just said to me, because I know that one thing you're going to learn as you get older, you have to think about what you say before you say it.
Absolutely.
What you just said to me was, this young lady is a witness to something that happened recently. When you said to your mother, listen, let me try to work this out with you, you know, with the car, and she shrugged you off and said to you, I filed bankruptcy and your help is too late.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, that's, Mr. King sort of acknowledges that this was a loan.
Well,
don't well me.
I'm sorry.
That sort of acknowledges that you had some responsibility in your mother's financial situation. You gotta keep it simple. All right, when was the car purchased, Miss Shawn?
August of 2002.
How old are you?
21.
How old were you when the car was purchased?
I believe 19, Your Honor.
How much were the car payments each month, Mr. King?
$150 maybe, Your Honor. I'm not sure.
Well, you were making the car payments for a while.
Yes, correct. It was a long time ago.
Okay. You were making the car payments for a while, so when you say it was $150 a month, was it 150, 152, 156?
Couldn't tell you, Your Honor. Don't have my checkbooks from back then anymore.
How many years did you make the payments?
I'd probably say 12 months.
When you stopped making the payments, did you notify your mother?
Absolutely.
Is that right?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I found out 3 months after the fact that he stopped making the payments that from the finance company contacted me and said the payments had ceased.
You have the
payment
letter?
was $177.26.
You have the letter from the
No, they
finance-
didn't. They just called me and I made a payment over the phone. He made $3,000 worth of the $6,000 loan.
Well, that's a pretty good track record, Mr. King, for somebody who got a gift. See what I mean?
Yes, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dawn Chount says her son, Scott King, owes for the balance on a car. Dawn claims Scott traded the car in and kept the money.
And did you file a bankruptcy last summer?
Absolutely not. I've never filed bankruptcy. I have no intention of ever filing bankruptcy.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Shaw?
I'm an administrative assistant for a management firm.
Who's driving the car?
He's traded that car in on a new vehicle. Yes, ma'am. I have. He got $4,000 on a trade-in, and instead of paying off the loan, he decided to use that $4,000 to purchase his brand new Focus that he's now driving. And they gave him $4,000 for the car, and he used it as a down payment.
Yeah? I mean, you're just going to stand there and look foolish?
No, Your Honor. I mean, what do you want me to say about that? Yes, I traded the vehicle in.
Well, if you traded the vehicle in, who did you expect to make the payments after you traded the vehicle in?
When I was living rent-free, I had no issues helping out with the bills. I was working full-time, going to school
Just
full-time.
helping out with the bills is a different story, Mr. King. Helping out with the bills means, Mom, he has $200 or $300 for rent, or he has $100 a week for rent. That's a different helping out with the bills. You made the car payment directly.
It was sporadically. It was, you know, a chunk here, a chunk there.
Well, that's because you were young and stupid. That's not because that's the way people do business.
I know that now, Your Honor.
How much is left owing on the car?
Approximately $3,000.
Let me see.
I'm sorry, $2,000 is my balance right now. Here's my current statement from the finance company showing the balance as of today.
And I'm amazed that you traded this car in, that they let you trade
Well,
the
there
car
was
in
no
with a
lien
lien.
because it was a personal loan.
May I say something, Your Honor?
It was a personal loan? What do you mean it was a personal loan?
It was a signature loan. There was no collateral.
What do you want to say?
Well, this wasn't financing that I requested. It wasn't I mean, I was at the age where I could require credit myself. This is a loan that she got, and she acted sporadically like, let's do this now, let's get this now, you need this. I wasn't prepared to make this transaction, and it was basically thrown upon me out of need, out of necessity, from her standpoint, that we needed a better ride for me and Jessica to go to college and back and whatnot. And it happened within a day. We got the check in the mail, and the next day I had a car. It was like that quick. And I mean, I don't agree that I didn't ask for the loan, I didn't want the loan. I don't even consider it a loan. It wasn't something that I was part of at all. It was something that was thrown upon me, and now I felt like I was being held accountable, like it being dangled over my head from that point forward. After we got rid of my escort, I had no vehicle. So we had the Cavalier, and I was like, make the payment or you lose it. And I was like, this isn't something I ever wanted or wanted to acquire. If I had it my way, I would have still had my old vehicle, and everything would have been okay from that point forward. I don't feel like this was any kind of my decision, and it was forced upon me.
Was he a difficult pregnancy?
Actually, ma'am.
No, I'm asking you, was he a difficult?
No, he was all of my children were very easy. And he was a very cooperative. I was working, got it from the dealer. He was going on a test drive. Mom, I really want this car. I tried talking him out of purchasing this car.
Listen to me.
That's not true.
No 19-year-old or 18-year-old says, 18 says, Mom, I don't want this nice car. I want to drive the piece of junk that I'm driving. I'm really happy driving around with my girlfriend in this piece of junk that doesn't start all the time.
Absolutely.
Please, I don't even want to think about a nice car. Being 18, I want to take the bus, take the train. With my,
no, ma'am.
That's how we want to go out.
You wouldn't take a bus to school,
Listen.
to high school. No.
I just want to know whether you had any clue in utero that he was going to develop into this.
No, the last thing I want to do is be here against my son, let me tell you.
Excuse me?
The last place I want to be is here with my son.
I don't blame you.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't blame you.
I just can't afford to make payments on something that is non-existent.
Well, I think that he's got some nerve trading it in. That really suggests to me, I'm speaking.
I'm sorry.
That really suggests to me that he is really totally an amoral person. He could have traded it in for something and given you the money.
That would have been really nice.
That would have been, and not put you in a hole. Because according to Freshmouth over here, he at least thought that you were filing for bankruptcy. He at least thought that you were in financial difficulty. And one of the reasons that you were in financial difficulty was because of his actions. Because according to him, new girlfriend over here, whose purpose in being here is to tell me about this conversation that she heard about looking forward to helping his mother, right? Isn't that what he said you were going to tell me?
Right.
Right. Means that he understood that his conduct created a negative situation for you.
And I do admit that.
Oh, get over it.
Ma'am, can I give Scott the title to his Focus? Because it's at my house.
No, I don't want you to give him anything.
This is his title for his car that he's driving now.
Listen to me. I don't want you to give him anything.
Okay.
He's got to understand what aggravation is. And if he doesn't have a title to the car that he's driving now because it came to your house, let him go to motor vehicles, fill out all the paperwork that he has a lost title, that the title never arrived, that he moved. He'll fill out an affidavit that he never got the title because he no longer lives in your house. Let him do something. Do you understand?
I understand.
He has to experience some pain. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's all.
John White says co-worker Toriano Harris owes for injuring his eye. John says Toriano ripped his cornea when he tackled him at a party.
According to your complaint, sir, you were at a New Year's Eve party.
Yes.
Mr. Harris was at the same New Year's Eve party, and you claimed that he was pretty drunk, and while not intentionally, while horsing around, he seriously injured your eye.
True.
Mr. Harris says everybody was sort of fooling around and butting each other. He didn't injure you, you were just fine, and he questions whether or not he exacerbated this pre-existing eye injury that you had.
Right.
What time did you get to the party?
Probably around 12:30.
Who did you go with?
Kathy.
Where had you been before?
At another party.
Who was driving?
I was.
Were you drinking?
Yeah.
How come you were drinking and driving?
And got caught up in the celebrations.
Was she drinking?
No.
Why didn't you let her drive?
Wasn't thinking at the time.
How much had you been drinking?
Couple cups of champagne, maybe.
Whose party was this that you arrived at 12:30?
Another co-worker's, another friend.
What time did you arrive at the party?
It was a little before 12, about 11:30.
Where had you been previous to 11:30?
I live across the street, so I walked across the street to the party.
So you hadn't had any alcohol before 11:30?
Nope. Ma'am.
And what were you drinking between 11:30 and 12:30?
Had about 2 beers.
Who did you come to the party with?
By myself.
Were you by yourself the beginning part of the evening?
Yes, I was.
That sounds pretty lonely on a New Year's Eve, Mr. Harris.
Well, I had just got off work, and then I went home and found out it was a party across the street, and it was somebody who I work with. So I was invited, so I walked across the street.
Okay, so now that we've laid the foundation of this evening, you were there by yourself, you had a date, you arrived at 12:30, you arrived at 11:30, you were sober as a judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Before 11:30, after that you had a couple of beers.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what happened at 12:30 when you arrived, Mr. White.
I came in the house, I mingled a little bit, had some more drinks. Probably 45 minutes to an hour after that time of mingling. Mr. Harris here was just a little bit out of control. He was obviously way drunker than he said he was. He was so out of control that me and some of the other guests removed ourselves from the living room of the party to like the front porch, patio type area, holding the door, keeping him from coming in. He eventually got up there on the patio where he continued his behaviors.
Describe his behavior to me, please.
Out of control is the only word I can use. He jumping around, spitting liquor at us, loud, screaming. Got down into like a football stance and just rushed me.
Describe that to me. Show me. What's a football stance?
Out here?
Yeah.
A football stance.
Okay, that kind of, okay. All right.
Brushed my legs, grabbed me by the legs, and I don't know if he was trying to put me in a wrestling move or just whatever, but as I was going down, his head hit my eye, causing the stitches that I had from a previous surgery to bust. And
What kind of surgery had you had on your eye?
I had a cornea transplant.
When?
September 20th.
You have the medical records for me?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please. That's the injury that you're talking about, being bumped in the head by him and the
Yes.
stitches coming apart.
As
Did you go to the emergency room that day?
Yes, I did.
Who took you?
My friend here, Kathy. I actually went home to... Went back
Kathy,
to
you
the
have a
hospital.
last name.
Smith.
You took him to the emergency room?
Yes.
Immediately after being bumped in the head, did you leave the party?
Well, after I got hit in the eye, like I say, he took me to the ground. I think that's the initial impact. And once I was on the ground, he went for probably a headlock and came across my eye again, taking me back to the ground as I was getting up. And at that point was when I crawled to the bathroom, tried to wipe the little blood that I did have, and then I left the party.
How many surgeries did you have subsequent to this incident?
3.
Were you scheduled to have any other surgeries after
No.
the initial corneal transplant?
Right. I was doing...
You were doing
It was in
fine.
the period of my recovery process.
Okay, Mr. Harris, I'm going to hear you, sir.
We was at the party. We had a couple drinks. I had a couple drinks. I knew he was already there, and he was already drinking, because I can already tell the way he was talking.
You arrived first.
No, he arrived first.
No, you arrived first. You said you arrived at 11:30. They didn't arrive until 12:30.
No, he was there first before me.
Okay, keep going.
I already knew that he had been drinking because the way the slur of his speech he was talking. As the struck clock to 12, we all just was having fun. It was party, horse playing, high five. We bumped chests. Then all of a sudden, a buddy of mine had picked me up. I'm looking around like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So then all of a sudden, he grabbed me. So when he grabbed me, I broke him off of me. And then he fell to the ground, I guess injuring his eye then. He was the aggressor. I wasn't the aggressor. He put his hands on me first.
Did you see what happened?
No, he did. I was in the other room. I'm the one that just witnessed.
Tell me your name, sir.
My name is Brian Dukes.
Do you know both of these gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you known them?
About 3 years.
Both?
Yes.
Both nice people?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What time did you arrive at the party that night?
It was after midnight.
Were you out on the porch when this incident
Yes,
occurred?
ma'am.
Tell me what you saw, please.
I'm pretty much a witness to his pretty much out of control behaviors, Mr. Harris. He pretty, like Mr. White here said, he did get down, crouch down in the football stands, and did attack Mr. White here.
Just describe to me what you saw. He got down in a football stance.
Football stands. Then he just rushed him, just grabbed his legs and took him down to the ground.
Did you assist him in cleaning up his eye?
No, ma'am.
You were just a guest at the party?
Yes.
Did you come with an escort?
No, ma'am.
Were you the only one with a date that night?
No. No.
Okay. I read your complaint that you had a video.
Yes.
Somebody was taking pictures of that
The
evening.
homeowner of the party actually was recording the whole incident.
I'd like to see it, please. Mr. Dukes, you can have a seat, sir.
Thank you.
This is the point here. This was like I say, well past 12:30. He's actually finna start spitting liquor at us. You can't hear it, but he's screaming, yelling, profanity, whatnot. This in the background. This the patio. Now this the patio area here where we at. That's the homeowner's friend, telling him that he needs to go, but he's not hearing anything. That's the charge. Right there, you can see me holding my eye as I'm going back. And he jumps on me again. I'm trying to get up now. I brought back down. At this point here, this is where I told him I didn't use these words, but you just messed my eye up. And he was like, all right, get up, I got you. I'm crawling off into the bathroom now. As he comes back out, he attempts to do this again, but he will stop. This was a separate person here, separate incident. And so that's the homeowner there. At this point, she was just really fed up with him. That's him hitting the door, bang on her front door, glass door.
What you're supposed to say, Mr. Harris, is, I drank too much, I was an idiot. I'm sorry I hurt you, and I'm going to pay your bills. You're not supposed to make excuses, sir. Have you seen this video before?
No.
You've never seen it before?
Never seen it
Why
before.
didn't you show him this video before? Maybe he would understand the nature of his actions.
In this process, I've reached out to him twice, not asking him to pay the bills, just to help him. Like I said, we have been friends for some time. I knew that he didn't just have this money in his pocket, but if he would have just assisted, no, I don't. But if he had just assisted with the help, we probably wouldn't be here.
I'm waiting.
If he knew that his eye was messed up, why would he come to a party and have fun anyway? I mean, but you know, sometimes when you're at a party, everybody get, you know, everybody horseplay. At least they do where I'm from.
You want to take this one, or what do you want me to do?
I don't know. There are good questions and there are bad questions. That's a bad question.
You know that if you have some delicate surgery, the chances of that surgery becoming infected, inflamed, that can become dislodged, that happens. Is what you're suggesting, sir, that if you have this kind of surgery, you stay in your room? You work at a place where I assume sometimes it gets physical.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's his job. So he has to go to work. And you take care as best as you can to make sure that the people that you're working with don't hurt you. Don't exacerbate a condition that already exists. When you go to a New Year's Eve party, you expect to have a little bit of alcohol, sometimes, and sometimes you even expect people to act stupid. You don't expect them to act very stupid. And when you act very stupid, Mr. Harris, and you hurt somebody, you have to be responsible and pay for it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this question, sir. You live across the street from this party.
Yes, ma'am.
You were pretty drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me give you this scenario. You're walking back to your house, and you're pretty drunk, and you're not looking where you were going. And a car is coming down the street. They're perfectly fine. Nobody's drinking in that car. They're driving. But you dart out into the middle of the street, and that car swerves to avoid you. And the people in that car are seriously injured because they hit a tree. Are you going to tell me that you think on New Year's Eve people shouldn't drive their cars because drunks sometimes walk in the middle of the road? That's the same kind of philosophy that you're trying to sell me when you say, listen, when you go to a New Year's Eve party, everybody gets drunk and they horse around. You can horse around without being an idiot. Would you like to show your boss that video?
I don't want to show nobody the video.
Well, you should have thought of that before you came here, Mr. Harris. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Rhonda Vito is suing the mother of her son's friend, Anna Betancourt, for the cost to fix a dirt bike. Rhonda claims Anna's son, 17-year-old Sean, rode her son's bike without permission and wrecked it.
Miss Vito, which of these two young men is your son?
Anthony, the first one.
How old are you, Anthony?
16.
How tall are you?
6'1".
What do you feed him?
Pasta.
Pasta? Which one of these two young men is
Sean.
am I going to grill today?
Sean.
Ms. Betancourt, and this is your son, whose name is Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Vito, it is your complaint that Ms. Betancourt's son drove your son's dirt bike without permission, got into an accident, and damaged the bike. You believe Mrs. Betancourt should be responsible for fixing the bike. Ms. Betancourt said that her son did have permission to ride the bike, that he was injured, that you're just lucky she's not suing you for the injuries because he broke an ankle. Is that right?
Yeah.
And your son gave her son permission to ride the bike, so that's it. Shouldn't be here. Anthony.
Yes.
Anthony, when were you riding the bike when it was running? What date was the last date before this incident? You have to look down at a piece of paper?
No.
What date?
May 8th.
And where were you on May 8th?
We were at a track in Brockton, riding.
And is it a track where they just have dirt bikes?
Yes.
Who was there?
Myself, Nick.
You have to speak up. You hear I'm speaking? I'm projecting. You can hear me, right?
Myself, Nick, and Dennis.
Dennis, that would be you.
Yes, Your Honor.
But Sean wasn't there.
No.
This was after school, or there was no school on that day?
It was after school.
What time?
About like 3:30 to 5:30.
Okay. Now, you're going to tell me what happened.
Myself, Nick, and Dennis were riding. My bike wasn't working right, so we drove it to my other friend's house. I tried fixing it, but it didn't work, and Sean asked to ride it.
Okay. Now, Sean was at your other friend's house?
Yes.
They were just hanging out?
Yes.
So far, are we correct, Sean?
Yes.
So up to this point, our stories are in sync, right? Sean asked if he could ride the bike.
Yes, and me and Nick said no, and I was putting the tools away, and he got on the bike and with no helmet and just left.
Why did you say no?
Because the bike wasn't working properly.
Is that the reason you left the track?
Yes.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
No, Your Honor.
Did you have a bike with you that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had your own bike?
Yes.
He's petrified. All right, so he got on the bike without a helmet and took off. Go ahead.
About 5 minutes after I saw him, I tried waving him over, and he kept going.
Well, what was he going around in a circle?
Yeah, like he went around the block. I saw him, I waved him over. He didn't come over. And about 10 minutes later, he came back with a broken ankle.
By the way, state of Massachusetts, are you required to ride with a helmet?
Yes.
You're also 16, Sean?
17.
17? So you're older than he is?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I start eating more pasta.
I don't like pasta.
Okay, let me hear your version. You're at your friend's house. He comes by with his bike. Go ahead.
He came by with his bike. They were fixing it. Dennis rode the bike.
Talk came by and they were fixing it.
Yes.
Were you outside when they were fixing it?
No, I shut up there. I got out after they were done fixing it, and I came out and...
Well, how did you know they were fixing it?
Because they told me that after.
After what?
I crashed.
After the crash?
Yeah.
Not before?
No.
So you showed up after they had been fooling around with the bike?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then Dennis was riding it, and then when he stopped riding it, I asked if I could ride it. He said no. I asked him again. He said no, and then I just hopped on the bike and rode it. Because I rode it again, so I didn't really think it was a big deal.
Did you tell that to your mother?
No.
No, ma'am.
He didn't tell that to you?
No, ma'am.
He had an epiphany here. Right?
Yeah.
Sean, you had an epiphany here, right? You know what that word means? Change of heart. You had an enlightenment. So this is the first time your mother's hearing that he said, no, you can't ride the bike. Now, do you think that if your mother knew that you didn't have permission to ride this bike, that we would be here today? You stole the bike, right? If you ask the owner of a bike, a car, something, can I use your vehicle? And they say, no, you can't use it. I'm going to use it anyway. Go get rid of your tools. While you're getting rid of your tools, I'll get on the bike and ride it. Sean, what do you have to say for yourself?
I don't know.
Miss Betancourt, you changed your mind? Your son rode the bike without permission. He actually stole it. He was told he couldn't drive it. You think he's responsible for the damage he caused?
But, Your Honor, I also have medical bills that my insurance is not covering.
Well, let me ask you this question, Miss Betancourt. Let's say your son was walking down the street on his way home, and he saw a red Corvette convertible. And he got into the car, because the keys were there, got into the car, and he took off with the car. And he crashed it, and he got hurt. You think that the owner of that car would be responsible for your medical bills?
No, but also what I didn't finish is that what they're charging me, they're also charging me for part that was fixed that had nothing to do with the accident. And Dennis is the one who took the bike to the shop. And some of the chains and the stuff was worn out during all the periods that they were riding the bikes. So it had nothing to do with the accident.
Well, how much do you believe you are responsible for of the bills that they had?
If we take that out, it would be $355.78.
How much did it cost you to fix the bike?
$631.10.
But the bike wasn't working before he got on the bike properly.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So it was going to have to go in to be fixed, because the reason you didn't want him to ride the bike is because it wasn't working properly.
Yes.
So at least part of that $631 that it cost you to fix the bike was as a result of wear and tear on the bike, or something that had absolutely no relation to the accident. So what has to do with the accident, Anthony?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, she knows. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $355.78. Good. Truth will out. Aren't you glad I didn't have to call on you?
No.
That's all. Thank you.
Christina Smith claims ex-boyfriend Gerald Ware Jr. owes for his share of a cruise vacation, utility bills, and a loan to retain an attorney.
Ms. Smith, you and the defendant dated for a period of time and signed a 6-month lease together in August of 2006?
That is correct.
How long had you been dating before you decided to move in with him?
I met him in March, so I was dating under 6 months.
I ask that not because it's particularly relevant, but I'm conducting my own sociological study. I want to see how quickly it is that people make this
mistake.
Right.
Yes.
In any event, your lawsuit says that you moved in August.
Yes, August 5th.
And you moved out in?
September 25th.
Right, so the living together at least saved you a bad marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Good. It is your claim that Mr. Ware is responsible for half of a cruise that you booked with his consent and his agreement to pay for half of the trip. It was a non-refundable amount of money. It was $2,000, $1,000 for you, $1,000 for him, which, of course, he didn't go on.
Correct.
Because the cruise was scheduled for?
October 7th, excuse me.
Did you take anyone else with you?
No.
So you had the cabin all by yourself?
I sure did.
So let's deal with that first. You moved in August, things started to go downhill right away. I don't have to know the why. It was not good. You were both not unhappy with the separation. Is that right?
Yes.
You moved out, but you continued to pay the rent. Your half of the rent.
I did.
Does she still continue to pay her half of the rent?
Up until December.
I think she's a princess. And you continued to live there?
Yes, I did.
All by yourself?
And my kids, when I had them for visitation, yes, I did.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So you had a great place to live. Are you still living there?
Until January 6th.
And then what happens?
I received a 30-day notice.
Why?
Because she didn't pay her, as it states in this letter, she didn't pay for December's rent.
Why didn't you pay?
I paid my half.
Why didn't you pay the whole thing?
Because I have a written agreement from her that says that she would pay the half as long as I
I'm
didn't
telling you,
have a room.
if she's paid September, October, and November, and she hasn't lived there, and you've lived there with your kids, how old are you?
Me, 37.
Why don't you take care of your own responsibilities? Where are you going after January? They gave you a 30-day notice. Where do you intend to go?
Oh, I'll find a place. No, none in mind right now.
What do you mean you have none in mind?
Well, I'm looking.
How much rent do you pay?
$675.
Is that the entire rent?
No.
Or just your half?
That my half.
Okay. When you moved in to that apartment, where had you been living just prior to that?
With my boss, as well as Christina.
With your boss?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a cabinet installer.
And you lived in your boss's house?
Yes, I did. As well as he's a friend as well.
Before you lived with your boss, where did you live?
I lived with my friend, me and a friend named Brian.
And when you lived with Brian, how much rent did you pay?
About $300 a month because it was just for a room.
How many children do you have?
2.
How much child support do you pay?
The child support is, my son is not legally mine. I accepted that responsibility when he was born, and after she went after his real father for child support, so they dismissed that court order, and for Bella it's $246, I think it is.
How much child support do you pay?
$246.
He doesn't pay child support.
When was the last time you paid child support, Mr. Ware?
It's been a couple years because my ex-wife put a letter in. She said that when she required me to pay child support, that I didn't see the kids regularly, so she wrote a letter to the district attorneys in Sacramento County.
That's hearsay. I just asked you a simple question. When was the last time you paid child support? You said several years ago.
Yeah.
You just told me that you used your apartment, sir, this apartment that you were living in and having half the rent paid by the plaintiff for both yourself and your children when you had them. So clearly you were seeing your children within the last 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
But you haven't been paying child support.
No.
Is this your boss?
Yes, it is.
How did I know that? Are you paid on the books or off the books?
On the books. I'm 1099.
And how much was your 1099 last year?
I didn't work for him last year.
Yes, he did.
Mr. Ware, he doesn't even want to stand up anymore and get involved with this, sir. Did you file tax returns last year?
No, I did not.
You just told me you lived with your boss last year before you moved in with her.
Last year.
What's your last name, sir?
McWee, ma'am.
You want to leave now?
No, ma'am.
You might want to rethink that. You get me? Good. So you're paid in cash and you don't pay taxes and you don't pay child support. You're supposed to pay your own rent.
I did. My half.
Well, you didn't pay, no, your own rent. Listen to me, Mr. 37 years old. You live in this country. You work for him. You're supposed to pay taxes like everybody else, which you don't do. You have children, 2, or maybe just 1. They come to visit you, and yet you have no fiscal responsibility for them. The rest of her lawsuit is, she says, A, she made a small loan to you for a lawyer. I'm not so interested in that, $199. But she said that you had no credit. Well, the reason you have no credit is because you allegedly have no income. So that she put all the utilities in her name. She put all the utilities in her name, left them in her name because she had no credit, and you didn't pay the bill, even when she was paying her half of the rent. Sir?
I was giving her half my check. She went over to my boss's house and received money from them.
You mean after she moved out?
After she moved out?
I'm talking about after she moved out.
After she moved out, I told her she threatened to turn everything off. I told her to go ahead and turn everything off.
Oh, she should have.
So?
And she didn't.
And she didn't.
And did you turn the lights on?
I
Listen to me. Did you turn the lights on?
Yes, I did.
Did you turn the stove on?
Yes,
did you
I did.
plug in a coffee maker?
Yes, I did.
So you used the juice. When you use the juice, you have to pay for it. Did you use the telephone?
Yes, I did.
If you use the telephone, you have to pay. If you're an American citizen and you use the roads and you use the other services that the government provides, you have to pay taxes. How much were your electric bills and service bills after you moved out? I'm talking about just for him.
Yes, the dish bill came to $292.23. I actually put a passcode on there around October 20th when I found out there was adult movies rented on there.
He had to do something to keep himself occupied. Next.
Sure West bill was $260.14.
Is that it?
Yes, and if you're not going to do the attorney bill.
No. $552, rounding it out, Bert. Thank you. Is that right?
Yes.
No sense. Good. $552. Now, let's talk about the cruise, Mr. Ware. You told her to go ahead and book the cruise?
The cruise was planned before I met her. We had been talking about it amongst friends before she moved in, and her sister is a friend of my boss.
Did you tell her to go ahead and book the cruise?
No, I did not.
That's not what you said here, sir.
My boss's wife booked
That's not what you said here, sir, in your answer. Just because you broke up doesn't mean that you don't pay for half the cruise. You pay for half the cruise. What?
In order to get the cruise, you have to do double occupancy.
Don't speak to me sitting down.
Sorry, ma'am. We told them both prior to this going that if anything happened, that you have to pay double occupancy to get on this cruise in order to get all the cabins together. So I said, if something happens, you can't change it, you can't get the money back, and they were both aware of that.
You made that clear to both of them?
Correct.
Terrific. Thank you. You can sit down.
I gave Gerald every opportunity to go on that cruise.
Listen, it happens. He's got to pay for half the cruise because you're out the money. Do you understand?
No, I don't, but...
Well, it's very, very easy, sir. There's no way that you wanted to go on this cruise, and there's no way that you were going to share a cabin together. Somebody was going to go on the cruise. Now, it is my sense that if you said to her, I will give you the $2,000, I will go on the cruise instead of you, she would have said, great.
No.
She would have said to you, great. You go on the cruise, and I won't. But right now, she had $2,000 invested in this cruise, and she hadn't seen a penny from you.
Yes, she had, ma'am.
Oh, really? You paid for some?
I was giving her all my checks that I was receiving from him.
Checks?
To pay for...
Listen to me.
Well, cash. To pay for credit card bills that were outstanding when we met.
We're not talking credit card bills, sir. We're talking about the cruise.
That's how the cruise was paid, on credit card.
How much money were you giving her?
I was receiving $500 a week.
In what?
In cash.
Cash. I love it when a game plan comes together. Just think of it this way, sir. It's your contribution to taxes. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,552.
Judge,
That's all.
I have some joy I want to give back to his daughter.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.